Today, and the Cowboys acquiring receiver George Pickens and a 6th-round pick from the Steelers for a 3rd and a 5th. Dallas owner Jerry Jones said that Dallas was working on some big trades, and this certainly would qualify. He now gets a wideout to pair along with superstar CeeDee Lamb. For much more on this story, let's get it over to our NFL insider Dan Graziano. I just want to start from the Steelers side of things. Why? Why did they deal him?
Well, they acquired DK Metcalf earlier this offseason and signed him to a contract that pays him more than $30 million a year. George Pickens going into the final year of his contract, and like most guys who are going into the final year of their contract in the NFL, he wants a new one. But after the commitment to Metcalf, the Steelers felt like they were not going to extend George Pickens, at least not at the compensation level that he was hoping for. So they make the move, and they get a 3rd-round pick. The Steelers, as has been widely publicized, are not in the best quarterback situation for the short or the long term. They recognize that they may be in the quarterback business again in next year's draft. Adding a 3rd-round pick gives them a little bit extra help maybe to move around in next year's draft if they have to go get a quarterback. And in the meantime, Pickens moves on, and they'll look elsewhere for their number 2 behind DK Metcalf.
Okay, so George Pickens gets a change of scenery, but the conversation around wanting an extension is not going to change just because he's now in Dallas. So what's the likelihood that we're going to see him get extended there before his contract's up?
I don't think it's super likely. It's not impossible, but when you look at what the Cowboys have in terms of players on the final year of their contracts looking for extension, Micah Parsons, you have the tight end Jake Ferguson, you have the cornerback Deron Bland. These are all players that the Cowboys want to keep and may be in line ahead of George Pickens for a contract extension. So I would say that while it's not impossible and the Cowboys are willing to consider it, it's more likely that we see George Pickens play out this season. He may want to play out this season and put up big numbers so he's in a better position to negotiate a contract a year from now. But it doesn't sound like he's the top priority in terms of these extension possibilities in Dallas, if only because he just got there.
Well, and also because he doesn't have even close to the leverage of a Micah Parsons, as you mentioned. Dan, you know this. There was 38 pass catchers last season that had at least 100 targets, and Pickens' 57.8% reception rate was the 4th worst among them. So we'll see how he can do with a better quarterback. Certainly,
might have something to do with the quarterback.
Yeah, it does, exactly.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott certainly better than what he was dealing with in Pittsburgh. Dan Graziano with the latest.
And back to our breaking news in the NFL. The Steelers traded wide receiver George Pickens for a 3rd-round pick next year to the Cowboys in a pick swap in 2027. The 24-year-old Pickens had 900 receiving yards last season, and he's going into the final year of his current deal. Pickens will join a Cowboys team that could really use some help in the receiving room. Over the last 2 seasons, CeeDee Lamb had over 1,600 more receiving yards than the next closest Cowboys player, by far the largest difference between a team's top 2 receivers in that span. And Sam Acho joins us now with much more. So after a couple of years of searching, Dak Prescott finally gets a number 2 wide receiver next to CeeDee Lamb. How does George Pickens impact this Cowboys offense now?
George Pickens will win the Cowboys some games single-handedly, but he also may cost the Cowboys some games. George Pickens has immense talent, but also there's a level of immaturity that shows up on tape. The talent is supreme. You see sideline catches. You see creative acrobatic moves. There's no question about that. What there is a question about is which George Pickens will show up. Well, you see the immature George Pickens who's fighting, who's arguing, who almost doesn't show up, doesn't run the right route. Or you see the George Pickens that makes acrobatic catches that change the level of his performance and his team's performance. So he'll probably cost the Cowboys some games, but he may win the Cowboys some games single-handedly.
It's a boom or bust decision. Pickens is the only player in the NFL who averaged at least 16 yards per catch and had at least 2,000 receiving yards in the last 3 seasons. Let's go to the Steelers side. When you look at this offense, they need talent. And now they continue to trade away talent. Oh, by the way, at this moment, they have Mason Rudolph as their quarterback number 1. What do you make of this offense right now?
The offense is incomplete. I got kids at home, right? I think about my 10-year-old trying to turn an assignment that he hasn't finished yet. Don't even turn it in. It's incomplete. Wait to go and get your assignment all the way done, i.e. go get your quarterback, go get Aaron Rodgers, go and add a receiver in free agency, maybe a guy like Keenan Allen, and all of a sudden your team starts to look more complete. We're in May right now. The season doesn't start for another 3 or 4 months. And so the Pittsburgh Steelers offense that you see right now is not the offense that you will see in September. You're going to see a different quarterback, likely Aaron Rodgers. You're going to see likely a different receiving core, though there are weapons on that team. DK Metcalf needs some help, and I think they'll go to free agency to get it, and they'll also go to free agency, i.e. Aaron Rodgers, to address their quarterback situation. So the answer right now is incomplete.
Incomplete also. A little wait and see, too, because they did draft Caleb Johnson out of Iowa, the running back, who's going to add some juice there in that backfield. But it helps that you have DK Metcalf. And
Steelers trading George Pickens to the Cowboys for draft picks. And Steelers reporter Brooke Pryor joins us live right now. Brooke, what's been the reaction from the Steelers side of things?
I mean, I get the sense that there is some relief in having this trade done because it's something that the Steelers were taking calls on a potential George Pickens trade before the draft. They didn't get the value they wanted, so it was kind of tabled during the draft and then, of course, heated up again recently before it went through earlier today. And I think that, you know, there's a ton of respect for the player that George Pickens can be and has been on the field for the Steelers, but there's also an understanding that with him comes a lot of drama in his conduct over the last 3 seasons with the Steelers. And I think that when they looked at that, there were a lot of histrionics on the field in terms of being frustrated if plays didn't go his way, throwing his helmet on the sideline or over celebrating a first down and getting a conduct flag, things like that that were detrimental to the team and that were a distraction. And I think when the Steelers looked at how things could play out with George Pickens, of course, he's entering the final year of his rookie contract, which means he would be eligible for an extension this offseason. The two sides didn't see eye to eye, or if the Steelers didn't want to extend him, that could have led to a potentially messy holdout or hold-in situation. So the Steelers instead opt to ship him off to the Cowboys, and I think in the long run this could be an addition by subtraction for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Now, outside of that move, the Steelers are still looking for a quarterback, one in particular, now also down a starting wideout. How does this affect the pursuit of Aaron Rodgers?
I don't think it affects the pursuit of Aaron Rodgers much, if at all. I mean, I think that the Steelers' offseason strategy has been similar to their draft strategy, where they were drafting not really thinking about what Aaron Rodgers would do, or drafting in spite of Aaron Rodgers' kind of pending decision still out there. The sense that I get is that not only are the Steelers aware of what's going on with Aaron Rodgers in his personal life because they've been in constant communication since he became interested and the Steelers became interested in him earlier this offseason, I have to imagine that those conversations go both ways, and that Aaron Rodgers was aware that dealing George Pickens is something that could happen. I don't get the sense that that's going to dramatically affect his decision one way or another.
Yeah, still waiting to see what Aaron Rodgers will do before this.
It's our big NFL story of the day. The Steelers trading George Pickens to the Cowboys. Dallas gets the receiver they wanted to pair with CeeDee Lamb. Pittsburgh gets draft picks. How does that affect the courtship of Aaron Rodgers? The First Take crew weighs in.
Where they are now with Aaron Rodgers, it's like, how much do you think he helps this team? With what you have offensively, we're trying to revamp your run game. Arthur Smith wanting to be run first, then to the play action pass. No George Pickens. What does Aaron Rodgers make you? Does Aaron Rodgers make you a championship contender? Does Aaron Rodgers make you a Super Bowl favorite? If you're a team that's about culture, if you're a team that's about family, that's about championships, you don't allow people to hold you hostage. And that's what the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing. I think it's far past time that they should have moved on from Aaron Rodgers.
They obviously think that Rodgers, at the end of the day, is going to go there. Rodgers is past his prime. Yeah. So-so year last year with the Jets at best. And where are they going to go if Rodgers is the quarterback? They're not winning a Super Bowl.
I'm not as down on Aaron Rodgers as most people are. I know that I am in the minority. I understand that. I'm thinking about what the Steelers had the last 2 years with Big Ben Roethlisberger and what they've had, since. And then I'm also asking myself, well, if y'all feel that way about it, what the hell did you let both Russell Wilson and Justin Fields go? We have to at least